It was definitely a hard thing, and I think it is such a betrayal for a spouse to go through. It was hard. It was hard to realize that it was such a public thing, and so not only was it a betrayal against me, but it was, and to vow before God to be loyal to each other, and that loyalty was broken.
Hey guys, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. Well, it's normally business as usual with the Duggars. They do their average updates. The girls lately have doing all of their promotions for all of the different products that they've been pushing. And suddenly and abruptly, nearly all of the Duggars have started to limit their comments. Anna Duggar, who typically has an open platform and able to comment, her comments are now limited. The last post that she published was 5 days ago, and it was 9 cousins in a row, and we are adding one more this fall. I'm curious more than ever if Jessa Seawald is having a baby boy or girl. And then a day before that, she posted that it's a girl. We are so excited to announce that baby 7 is on the way, and we can't wait to hold her in our arms this fall. Now, in that same post, someone pushed back and said, how can Josh actually afford 7 kids? And Anna had called him and clapped back and said, my husband is a diligent worker. Like he has a really good job or something. There had been a lot of cues that something was going on. And if you follow this channel, you know that I had been covering this very closely. We have been talking about this for months. There was so much indication that something was coming because we knew that Josh and Anna had sold their house. We knew that they had been moved into property on the Duggars property. We knew that they were living in a home connected to the Duggars on their property in a warehouse. We knew that Josh had closed his car lot. We knew that Anna and the kids were around the Duggars and at the Duggars compound, the big house, all the time. So there was a lot to assume that something was coming. Then we abruptly noticed that the Duggars stopped updating basically everything. So not only has Anna turned her comments off, but so have the Duggars. The Duggars, who are notoriously open about literally everything and have been promoting a conference at Big Sandy, Texas for the IBLP, consistently have been updating on their Instagram, except they haven't been announcing anything lately. Jed Duggar was married in April, in the beginning of this month. We heard nothing. We knew nothing about their courtship. We knew nothing about their engagement. We heard nothing until the day of the wedding, but we covered the whole thing and we knew it all before they did, right? We also knew a day ahead of time that Justin Duggar was getting married to Claire. We also knew ahead of time that Anna was pregnant, but we didn't know why she wasn't announcing it considering she was so far along. Now we know why Anna was not announcing her pregnancy and why Anna announced the pregnancy on a Friday night. Not only that, a lot of his siblings have sort of gone MIA off of social media, particularly Josiah, who has literally not updated a thing. Then there has been some abrupt closing of comments by Jedediah, Joanna, Jason, Joseph, and Kendra. Now, the only ones that I noticed recently that were remaining open were Jessa, Ginger, are going to be closed down as well. So another thing that we know about what is going on is that Ginger and Jeremy are literally launching a book, like literally in so many days. Like their book is coming out on May 4th. I cannot believe that this would drop on the same week that they're launching their book, but it's also really bad news for them because honestly, maybe it'll help sales a little bit with this book coming out, but their press is going to be inundated with questions about Josh, which is going to make advertising or launching or any sort of interviews for this extremely uncomfortable for them. The crappy thing about what Josh Duggar has done to this family is that the ripple effects impact literally everyone. The other crappy effect, and a lot of you noticed in my last video, is how the hell can Josh Duggar be so housed and protected by Jim Bob and Michelle. And yet Jill Duggar, their second oldest daughter, has been all but shunned. Jill has been very outspoken that there have been very serious things going on in her family to the extent that she has not been at their house in over 2 years. Think about that. So while she's been shunned and sort of pushed out of the family, they've been housing and protecting Josh for whatever reason. So here's my best guess. And honestly, I just talked to a source and they literally had no idea. The Duggars were telling no one that this was happening. My source basically said that people they know literally were with Josh and Jim Bob last week and they said nothing. Nothing. They said nothing about the arrest. They said nothing about a pending arrest. They said nothing about an investigation. It was like business as usual. When I showed my source the photo of Josh and his mugshot, they said he looks terrible. Now, a lot of you have noted that he looks like he might be high or on pills. I can't say what is going on with Josh. It's kind of jarring and shocking when you get arrested, but it's obviously been something that's been going on for quite some time, but they're not telling anyone. My only other source that I talked to on a consistent basis said something big was happening, and they told me that about a month ago, and they could not tell me anything more. They were bound by complete and utter secrecy, and I did not pry after that. I assumed it could be something legal. I said I would continue to check court records, and they said you should do that. So obviously they knew something was big, people knew something was big, but the Duggars were not telling anyone. So this explains why the Duggars haven't been doing anything for promotion, and it also might explain why TLC hasn't announced another season of Counting On. The most bizarre thing that's happened in this entire thing is that TLC has been very cagey and hasn't said anything about whether or not another season is coming. There's also been only that one random sort of Easter weekend special that they said the next chapter, and you notice that like so many of the Duggars were not there. Anna was there, Jessa was there, Joy showed up for a little bit, Joseph was there for a little bit, but like a lot of the siblings were not a part of that special, and they've not announced another season. Initially, I thought, well, maybe it's because the Duggars are not complying with COVID. Maybe they haven't been announcing anything because they're like holding it close to the vest. Maybe they don't want to, in some context be connected. Maybe they're trying to withhold information so they can get a better paycheck. But now I'm starting to think that maybe TLC might have been in the know. Now, TLC has not commented. They have not responded to comments. A number of outlets have been asking, like, do you have any comment? None of the Duggars have made a comment thus far. Nobody is saying anything. No, the U.S. Marshals had no comment. Nobody is breathing a word. And whatever has been filed against him is confidential. I have been checking and updating on the website. Nothing. A bunch of records were filed under seal, and maybe those will be what is going on with Josh. But literally, there's no records of anything. So whatever is going on, it's being held very, very, it's very secretive. I'm waiting patiently to figure out what's going on. But obviously the Duggars knew what was going on because everyone is in lockdown mode. Anna's in lockdown mode. And it's going to be interesting to see how this affects Ginger and Jeremy's book. I wonder what Anna thinks now about her diligent worker. A lot of you guys were like, why is it that every time she's pregnant, something terrible happens with Josh? Because honestly, she's always pregnant. But knowing that there was this investigation, that was my, why are you still having kids knowing this is looming? You know what I mean? And if the family is wanting to know what the truth is, and you have federal investigators that are involved in this, I'm starting to wonder, is there a family link? Is TLC gonna pull the plug on the show? Because honestly, you can't have Anna on the show and Jim Bob, who has been housing him on his property for a year and a half. That doesn't look good at all to the network. How would the network even explain that? That Jim Bob knew this was going on. They may or may not have told anyone. And now for the second time with the network, something terrible is happening about Josh. Even though Josh is not on the show, Jim Bob is still so involved in what Josh is doing. It would be impossible for the network not to have to respond in some way. Could this be the end of Counting On? I have no idea. right now, I am as stunned as all of you are. So I don't know. This is a rambly one. The Duggars have locked down their social media. There's been no comment or no response by anyone that's asked any question. I have reached out to my sources to see if they have anything. One said, we saw them last week. Literally nothing was happening. No one said a word. And then my other source has not responded, or like they haven't seen or I don't know. I just haven't heard back yet from my other source. So all I can say right now is this is what it is. Will TLC respond? How is TLC going to respond? And how can the show continue if the charges are as serious as a lot of you are thinking? And some of you in comments were like, being held without bail isn't that big of a deal with federal charges. I actually disagree. People get arrested all the time and are not held without bond. It's very uncommon for charges to be held without bond. It's also very rare for someone to be held without bond and held for federal court. So this is serious, whatever's happening. To have a no bond situation, these are serious crimes. These aren't like tax fraud. I mean, Todd Chrisley has like 9 charges and he's facing 30 years in prison, and he wasn't even held for less than a day. I mean, he bonded out on like no bond, right? So it's serious, whatever's happening. So what are your thoughts about all of this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.